least expect them, like a small gift on a rainy Tuesday morning that blossoms into something extraordinary. Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind that dawns with gray skies and a gentle drizzle, the sort of weather that tempts you to linger in bed with a cup of tea and a good book. I was 52, living alone in a cozy little house on Maplewood Lane, a street where everyone knew each other's names, but not much more. We waved, exchanged pleasantries, occasionally borrowed a cup of sugar, but that was the extent of it. Life was predictable, comfortable, and, if I'm honest, a little lonely. That morning, I sat at my kitchen table, gazing out at the rain-soaked garden. My hydrangeas were in bloom, their blue petals heavy with water, and the oak tree in the backyard swayed gently in the breeze. I was lost in thought, sipping my chamomile tea, when a knock at the door broke the quiet. I wasn't expecting anyone. My son, David, was busy with his life in the city, and my friends were caught up with their families or work. I hesitated, set my cup down, and walked to the door. When I opened it, I was surprised to see my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, standing there. He was a tall man in his late 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes, living 2 doors down. We'd exchanged a few words over the years, but nothing beyond neighborly small talk. He held a small, wrapped package and looked slightly nervous, which was unusual for him. "Good morning, Linda," he said, his voice warm but hesitant. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Not at all," I replied, smiling. "What can I do for you, Mr. Thompson?" "Please, call me Henry," he said, returning the smile. I noticed you've been working in your garden a lot lately. You've got quite the green thumb." I chuckled. "Well, it keeps me busy. I find it relaxing." He nodded, then held out the package. "I saw this at the farmer's market over the weekend and thought of you." "It's nothing much. Just a little something to brighten your day." I was taken aback. No one had given me a gift like this in years. I took the package, feeling its weight in my hands. "Thank you, Henry. That's very kind of you." He shuffled his feet, almost shy. "Well, I'll let you get back to your morning. Have a good day. Linda, you too," I said, watching him turn and walk back down the path to the sidewalk. I closed the door and unwrapped the package. Inside was a beautiful ceramic planter, painted with delicate flowers and vines, the kind of thing I'd have chosen myself. I ran my fingers over its smooth surface, feeling a mix of gratitude, curiosity, and something I couldn't quite name. Later that afternoon, I planted a small fern in the planter and set it on my porch. As I worked, I glanced toward Henry's house, realizing I knew little about him beyond that he was a widower and had lived on Maplewood Lane as long as I had. The next day, I baked a batch of oatmeal cookies, my grandmother's recipe, and walked to Henry's house. When he answered, he looked surprised but pleased. "I wanted to thank you for the planter," I said, holding out the plate of cookies. It was such a thoughtful gift. He smiled, his eyes crinkling. "You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Would you like to come in for a cup of coffee?" I hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. His house was warm and inviting, with bookshelves lining the walls and a fireplace in the living room. We sat at his kitchen table, sipping coffee and talking about everything: gardening, travel, favorite books. I was surprised by how easy it was to talk to him, how comfortable I felt. As I walked home that evening, I realized how much I'd missed this kind of connection. It wasn't just the gift or the cookies. It was how Henry noticed me, saw me as more than the woman 2 doors down. That night, lying in bed, I thought about Henry's unexpected kindness and how it touched me in ways I hadn't anticipated. It was a small gesture, but it had opened a door to something new, something I hadn't realized I was missing. The days following Henry's gift felt different, as if the world had tilted slightly, revealing colors I hadn't noticed before. The rain cleared, and the sun cast a golden glow over Maplewood Lane. My garden seemed to respond. Flowers bloomed brighter, leaves greener, or maybe it was me, seeing through a new lens. I thought about Henry more often. Our coffee conversation had been so natural. It wasn't just the topics, but the way he listened, as if every word mattered. I hadn't realized how much I'd missed that until it was there. A few days later, I was pruning roses in the garden when I heard footsteps. I looked up to see Henry approaching, hands in his pockets, smiling. "Good morning, Linda," he said, stopping at my yard's edge. "Those roses are stunning. You've got quite the talent." I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled back. "Thank you. Henry, they're my pride and joy. Would you like to come in for a closer look?" He nodded, and I led him through the gate, pointing out the varieties, deep reds, soft pinks, creamy whites. He listened intently, asking questions, admiring the blooms. "You know," he said after a while, "I've always wanted a garden like this, but I've never had the patience for it. I admire your dedication. It's not as hard as it looks." I replied, "It just takes time and a little love." He chuckled. "Well, maybe you could teach me a thing or two." I hesitated, then said, "I'd be happy to. Why don't you come by tomorrow morning, and we can get started?" His eyes lit up. "I'd like that. Thank you, Linda." The next morning, Henry arrived on time, wearing old jeans and a flannel shirt. I handed him gardening gloves and showed him how to prepare soil for planting. We worked side by side, talking, laughing, digging, and watering. It was surprisingly fun, and I enjoyed his company more than I'd expected. As days turned to weeks, our gardening sessions became regular. We'd meet mornings, sometimes at my house, sometimes at his, tackling whatever needed doing. It wasn't just about plants. It was the conversations, shared moments, the growing connection between us. One afternoon, after planting tulips in his backyard, Henry suggested a break on his porch. He brought out iced tea, and we sat in the shade, sipping and watching birds flit around. "You know," he said after a while, "I've lived on this street over 20 years and never really got to know my neighbors. I guess I've always been a bit of a loner." I nodded, understanding. "I know what you mean. It's easy to get caught up in your own world and forget there are people right next door." He looked at me, thoughtful. "I'm glad you moved in, Linda. You've made this place feel like home again." His words touched me deeply, and I felt a lump in my throat. "Thank you, Henry. That means a lot." We sat in comfortable silence, the kind that doesn't need filling. The sun warmed my face, the breeze gentle, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. As weeks passed, Henry and I grew closer. We shared more than gardening tips, stories about our lives, families, dreams. I learned he'd been a teacher before retiring, loved jazz music, and had a soft spot for old movies. He spoke of his late wife, Margaret, and how much he missed her. "She was the love of my life," he said one evening on my porch, watching the sunset. "I never thought I'd find someone who could make me feel that way again." I looked at him, my heart aching for his pain. "I understand. It's hard to lose someone you love." He nodded, eyes distant. "But I think she'd be happy to see me like this, spending time with someone who makes me smile." His words lingered long after he went home. That night, lying in bed, I thought about our unexpected friendship and how it had become vital to my life. As I drifted to sleep, I wondered where this journey would lead. Life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? Just when you find your footing, something shakes things up. For Henry and me, it was a storm, a big one. It was late September, and the weather had been unusually warm. Leaves were turning, painting the neighborhood in gold and red. Henry and I spent more time together, not just gardening, but sharing meals, watching movies, taking day trips to nearby towns. It felt like we were building something real. Then the storm rolled in. It started with distant thunder, dark clouds on the horizon. By evening, the wind howled, and rain fell in sheets. I stood at my living room window, watching trees sway and rain pound the glass. The power flickered, then went out, plunging the house into darkness. I fumbled for a flashlight, lit candles, and tried to make the best of it. But an unease settled in my chest. Then I heard it, a loud crash, followed by splintering wood. My heart leaped. I grabbed my raincoat and flashlight and ran outside, the wind whipping my hair, rain soaking me instantly. I followed the sound to Henry's house, where a massive oak in his backyard, struck by lightning, had fallen through part of his roof. My stomach dropped. "Henry," I shouted, pounding on his front door, heart racing. "Henry, are you okay?" The door opened, and there he was, shaken but unharmed. "Linda," he said, voice tight with worry. "I'm fine. But the tree, it came through the roof." I stepped inside, shining my flashlight. The damage was severe. The tree had smashed through the living room corner, debris everywhere, rain pouring through the hole, soaking the carpet and furniture. "We need to get you out of here," I said, grabbing his arm. "It's not safe." He hesitated, looking at the mess. "But my house, your house can be fixed." I interrupted. "You can't stay here tonight. Come on. You're coming to my place." He didn't argue. I helped him gather essentials, clothes, medications, a photo of Margaret, and we hurried through the rain to my house. Inside, I handed him a towel and dry clothes. "Go get changed. I'll make tea." By the time he returned, I had chamomile tea steeping and a fire crackling in the fireplace. He sat on the couch, looking exhausted. "Thank you, Linda," he said quietly. "I don't know what I'd have done if you hadn't come." I handed him a mug and sat beside him. "You don't have to thank me. That's what friends are for." We sat in silence, listening to the storm and the fire's crackle. The power was out, but candles cast a warm glow, making the room cozy despite the chaos. "You know," Henry said after a while, "this reminds me of a night with Margaret during a hurricane. We were young, just married, didn't have much, but we had each other. That was enough." I smiled, a lump in my throat. "She sounds like an amazing woman." "She was," he said softly. "And you remind me of her in so many ways." His words caught me off guard, and my cheeks flushed. "Henry, He took my hand, his grip warm and steady. "Linda, I know this might not be the right time, but I need to say it. These past few months with you have meant more than I can express. You've brought light back into my life, and I don't want to let that go." I looked into his eyes, seeing sincerity and vulnerability. My heart pounded, but not from fear. It was hope. "Henry," I said softly, "you've brought light into my life too. I didn't realize how much I needed someone like you until you came along." He smiled, a slow, warm smile that warmed my heart. "Then maybe we can figure this out together." I nodded, a sense of peace settling over me. Together. The storm raged outside, but inside, it felt like the sun had broken through. We sat, holding hands, talking late into the night until the rain stopped, and dawn's first light crept through the windows. The morning after the storm was clear and bright, the kind of day that promises fresh starts. The air smelled of damp earth and fallen leaves. and sunlight streaming through my windows felt like hope. Henry and I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee and eating toast with jam, the previous night still vivid. "I should call the insurance company," Henry said, breaking the comfortable silence, "and maybe a contractor to look at the damage." I nodded, squeezing his hand. "We'll figure it out, one step at a time." He smiled, eyes warm with gratitude. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Linda." "You don't have to find out," I replied, smiling back. Over the next few days, we worked together to restore Henry's house. The insurance adjuster assessed the damage, and a contractor began roof repairs. It was hard work, but it felt good to do something tangible, bringing us closer. One evening, after cleaning debris and sorting damaged belongings, we sat on my porch, watching the sunset over Maplewood Lane. The sky was a riot of pinks, oranges, and purples, breathtaking. "You know," Henry said, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking about what you said the other night, about figuring this out together." I turned to him, my heart skipping a beat. He took a deep breath, his expression serious but hopeful. "I don't want to waste any more time. Linda, life's too short, and I've spent too much of it alone. I want to be with you, if you'll have me." Tears welled in my eyes, and I blinked them away, not wanting to miss this moment. "Henry, I feel the same. I've been alone so long, and I didn't realize how much I needed someone like you until you came into my life." He took my hand, his grip warm and steady. "Then let's do this. Let's build a life together, whatever that looks like." I nodded, feeling peace and happiness I hadn't known in years. Together. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotion and decisions. Henry's house was repaired, but he spent more time at mine until it felt like we were living together. We talked about the future, merging our lives, traveling, growing old together. It was exciting, terrifying, wonderful. One crisp October morning, we walked through the neighborhood, enjoying the fall colors and cool air. Hand in hand, I felt deep contentment, like I'd found my place. "You know," Henry said as we passed a fiery red maple tree, "I think Margaret would have liked you." I looked at him, surprised. "Really?" He nodded, eyes soft with memory. "She always said I needed someone to keep me on my toes, someone with a kind heart and strong spirit. That's you, Linda." Tears filled my eyes, but I let them fall. "Thank you, Henry. That means more than you know." He stopped, taking both my hands. "Linda, we're not young anymore, but I think we've got plenty of good years ahead. I want to spend every one of them with you." I smiled through my tears. Joy so profound it almost hurt. "I want that too, Henry. More than anything." He leaned in and kissed me, a gentle, tender kiss that felt like a promise. In that moment, surrounded by the season's beauty and his love, I knew this was just the beginning of something beautiful. As we continued our walk, sun shining, leaves crunching beneath our feet, I felt deep gratitude for Henry, for the life we were building, for the unexpected kindness that brought us here. Life had thrown curveballs, but we'd weathered the storm, emerging stronger. Looking to the future, I knew we'd face any challenges together, because sometimes the most beautiful things in life come when you least expect them, like a small gift on a rainy Tuesday morning that blossoms into something extraordinary.